Hello and welcome. My name's Richard and I'm here with
Amber.
And you're listening to
Hurry, the movie is starting podcast.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. So, I don't mean to get deep right off the bat, but it's one of those kind of days, so I'm just going to hit the ground running with this one. Deep down, most of us feel that we can do better. Better than that athlete that missed that wide open catch, or even that chef that put way too much salt in that one dish that one time, or even a much better parent than our own, right? Well, let me ask you something. If things changed and you now held the role of God, would everyone's life get better or only your own? Try, if you can, to remove ego and pride and to truthfully answer that question. But while you do, let's talk about
Send Help!
Send Help is a new Sam Raimi psychological horror movie coming out on January 30th. It is rated R and comes in at a runtime of 1 hour and 53 minutes long. And as I said before, this movie is directed by Sam Raimi, which his style is more kinetic, frantic, and visually inventive blend of horror, comedy, and superhero action. He often incorporates grotesque humor, slapstick, and thematic trauma. Now, if you're anything like me and you're like, what the heck is thematic trauma? Well, I got you. Recurring underlying emotional and cognitive patterns such as fear, shame, abandonment, or loss of control that emerge from a person's traumatic history and shape their worldview. It's like one of those situations where you've had something unfortunate happen to you in your past. For instance, let me just go on a tangent here and say in a dating app, you had bad experience with guys in dating apps, so now your worldview of guys is, they all suck, because that's your thematic trauma in the case of this movie. So it's interesting to tie that together. Like Rachel McAdams when, and this is the plot of this movie, two colleagues become stranded on a deserted island, the only survivors of a plane crash. On the island, they must overcome past grievances and work together to survive, but ultimately, it's a battle of wills and wits to make it out alive. So it's cool how this is all being tied together, because if you saw our first episode of the year, it was a post-game on Castaway where we saw Tom Hanks by himself on an island. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, go ahead and check that one out. Now, we have two opposing forces trapped on an island, and it makes me ask, would you rather be trapped on an island with a person you despise or by yourself?
Ooh. That's hard, because it depends, this person I despise could be difficult to work with, but they may bring knowledge and stuff that I don't have that could help in aiding our survival on the island. But all in all, I think I'm going to have to go it alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're more of an introvert, so that makes sense, but do you feel like throughout the island, because we saw Tom Hanks in Castaway losing his mind, so he thus invented Wilson to be his way to still have that human connection while he was alone on the island, do you think you would be able to survive, let's say they're trapped on this island for 2 years, you think you'd be able to survive up 2 years solo?
I think so. I think I have enough nature skills, but beyond that, for me, I can find peace in where I'm at, usually through prayer or artistry. So I'd find some way to do some sort of art form on this island, whether it be drawing in the sand or crafting something out of things I find. I'm really hoping that, unlike Castaway, I have animals on this island. I know that animals can be dangerous, but I'll take my chances. I would like an animal friend, a la Disney princess.
Well, speaking of animals, we do see in the trailer that Rachel McAdams does cut the head off of a boar. So there is more.
Not really what I wanted to do. I wanted more of like a Pua for Moana situation, sidekick, little cute pig walking around with me, keeping me company,
Oh yeah, I don't know if you get that on that island, but
no, I don't.
Not on a Sam Raimi island. But
okay, it was my ideal island. Okay,
but like for myself, I think I would be the similar route, because I am also an introvert, and while like I can be extroverted, it takes up a lot of energy. And when you're with that person that clearly I'm referring to Dylan O'Brien in this movie, where he is a boss who sees himself better than everyone else, and his subordinates are just people he can use to get the goals that he wants to achieve. So with people like that, we would be butting heads so often, and I think trapped on an island, I don't know how that would turn out. So I also think that I would prefer to be alone on an island, which is easy to say from like the safety of our house. Gun to my head, that's what I'm choosing. But let's see who they chose for this movie with the cast.
We have Rachel McAdams.
And this is what happened to her if Noah stayed broken up with her, but just by the way.
Oh, okay. And Dylan O'Brien.
Underrated actor.
Bruce Campbell.
Who, fun fact, Sam Raimi has 15 feature films.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and Bruce Campbell is in 8 of those films, whether he be the star or a cameo appearance. So they have a very tight friendship.
Okay.
That's a 50% clip, by the way. That's pretty good.
We have Dennis Haysbert and Emma Raimi.
Yeah, so another fun fact for you. Look at this. I'm giving you all some fun facts. We don't even have a fun fact section today, but I'm giving you 2 for free because it's that kind of day. It's Sunday, you know. It's a day of giving. So Emma Raimi is Sam Raimi's daughter.
Okay.
And do you remember Spider-Man 3?
Yes.
Do you remember that scene where J. Jonah Jameson is out with the public and he wants to take a picture of Spider-Man, but he doesn't have a camera? So he turns to the side and there's this little girl and he wants to buy the camera from her.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so when that situation's happening, he buys the camera and tries to snap a picture, but nothing happens because he looks inside and there's no film. And what does she say?
She says the film is extra.
So that actress at that young age is Emma Raimi, Sam Raimi's daughter, which I did not know. Yes, so she is in Spider-Man 3, which I did not know, and she's also in this movie, so that's a cool little keeping it in the family, like your daughter's in a horror movie, like how adorable is that? And that's going to tie us right to scripture, which mentioned earlier about the loss of control and fear. Now let me read you a little scripture that I think ties this movie together pretty well. Giving you some context before I jump into this. This is during the Last Supper, right before Jesus tells Peter, it is Simon, but during this time, it was Peter at this moment, that he will deny him 3 times, which is one of the first scriptures that I got into when I wanted to read the Bible fully. And it was so hard for me to understand that because I'm like, well, like you just don't deny Jesus 3 times. It's that easy. But how often do we deny Jesus in our actions? And it's not as easy as I thought. Originally, it was something that was so black and white, just like, oh, just don't deny Jesus. Put it in your mind that you're not going to deny him. But oftentimes we get caught up in the world, and through our actions, we end up doing the same thing. So it is a lot more easier for me to understand than when I first started reading the Bible. But that's going to lead us to Luke 22:25 through 27. Would you like to read this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Jesus said to them, "The kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater than the one who is at the table, or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as the one who serves."
So that kind of leads us to leadership exposed when power is stripped away. Because in that passage, so Jesus said, "Kings of the Gentiles lord it over them," which we see throughout the trailer that Dylan O'Brien is doing a lot of lording in the ways that he treats McAdams through his actions. But when roles reverse, we see McAdams begin to lord over O'Brien, which I will admit is great theatrically, but according to the scripture, Jesus calls us to not be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest. To me, that means full of innocence and untainted by this evil world. And the one who rules like the one who serves, which again to me means being humble. Because when you're full of power and you have your ego high to the sky, it's not going to end pretty for a lot of people. What do you take from that?
So I think that what we have to take for this one is that what we're going with is good theatrical value. Because if she were to continue to serve on this island, nothing would change, right? And what always makes a great movie is that this is that snapshot in time where something has changed. Something is exciting in some way. So to see the roles reverse is our entertainment. While yes, not what we would want to accomplish if it were actually us in that situation. However, I mean, the way that O'Brien treats McAdams, how would you want to react?
Yes, and we will get back to that because that's going to be a question for later. So keep that bookmarked. But pertaining to something you said in the wanting to change and become like not like them, I have a question for you. Do you think Rachel McAdams will see the error of her ways and she'll quote unquote repent and just be who she truly is meant to be? Or do you think she's going to go full Lord of the Flies Sam Raimi horror?
Full Lord of the Flies Sam Raimi horror.
So there's going to be no redemption for her?
None.
None? Oh, why do you say that?
There are just clips in the ending of that trailer that show some wild-eyed images of McAdams that looks like she has gone full native here on this island. She is chopping up a boar. She's making spears. At one point, she sort of seemingly threatens him with one of these sharp objects. But it looks like they're hiding from each other, trying to get away from each other. There's some sort of chasing. So I do think that she's all in.
Okay. And I can see that. And honestly, Sam Raimi, you can expect that from movies that he's done. It's a crazy ending to Drag Me to Hell is very similar, where there's not really redemption and it just ends abruptly. At least that's what I remember. I haven't seen that movie in a while. It was a one and done for me. But I don't know. Something in my gut is telling me that she's going to have a redemptive arc. I think she's going to go off the deep end. And I think there's going to be some potential, hey, it's me versus you. But I think she's going to see the error of her ways. Now, will that be too late for Dylan O'Brien? And now he's going to be trying to kill her in terms of saving himself? That might be its own... Oh, that would be a tragic ending if she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and he stabs her in the neck or something and kills her.
Oh my gosh.
That would be a horror ending.
That'd be wild.
Right, and I don't know...
The bad guy wins.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know, yes.
Although, who is the bad guy?
True, yeah. It seems like they both become a bad guy in this movie. So that's what I think. I think there is going to be a redemption arc for her, but I think in the end, she's still, unfortunately, going to be the one that, quote-unquote, loses. But hey, maybe something happens to Dylan O'Brien too. But it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out. I think by default with Sam Raimi, you expect her to go full non-redemption and just kill O'Brien or just make his life a living hell. And then she comes and gets saved and she's like, oh yeah, he didn't survive the plane crash. And then nobody ever knows.
I don't think that she'll kill him though.
You don't think she'll kill him?
No. That's too easy.
You think it's just going to be like a torture?
Oh yeah. Slow and steady. He made her life a living hell. Why wouldn't she do that to him?
All right, well, keep that thought in your mind because we are going to circle back down to that later. But, you know, sometimes we got to get the mind and the perspective of the actual director. So, are you ready for PreGame Conference? And today we are blessed. We are so blessed to be able to talk about a Reddit Ask Me Anything from Sam Raimi himself about this movie. So let's dive into that. We got a couple of great questions for Raimi that he personally answered on Reddit. Have you ever heard of the Ask Me Anythings?
No.
So it's pretty cool. Like directors, musicians, celebrities are doing this thing now where they go on Reddit and they say, ask me anything. And you can type in a question, and if they choose you, they'll answer your question. And it's really cool because typically we don't have access to these people except if we're viewing them on media. But this actually gives us a chance to ask our burning questions in a...
Have the Duffer Brothers done one?
Oh, no. Oh, man. Don't even get me started.
No.
I've forgiven the Duffer Brothers, so I would probably not go into that Ask Me Anything because I feel like anything I say might be a little... Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
All right. So, the first question comes from VanCock98, and do you want to read this one?
Hi, Sam. Big fan here and can't wait to see Send Help! I've always admired your visual style and how you reinvented the power of the camera at such a young age and with limited resources. My question is, Has your philosophy regarding camera movement changed over the years? Do you think technical limitations help to force creativity? Greetings from Chile.
And to which Sam Raimi replied, yes, I think technical limitations do help to force creativity. When you don't have a dolly, you really have to think long and hard about the questions, do I need the camera to glide into the main character here? Because there's no device to make that happen. You're forced to really ponder the question, why do I need this? Intentionality. And if you can answer that question to your satisfaction, you will build a device from scratch that replicates the movement of a dolly, or you might even build something better. Limitations force innovations, and I think it's a very healthy thing for young filmmakers. What a fantastic answer.
I love that. Star Wars immediately comes to mind.
Oh, why Star Wars?
Because I think of how innovative they were in creating everything on their sets. And those movies still hold today. The original. I'm talking about the original trilogy here. 1970 stuff. But that stuff still looks good on screen today. And they didn't have the technology that we have.
Right. And it just goes to show you that often our own limitations are our mind or other people telling us no. And this is a friendly reminder that when there's a will, there's a way, as my dad used to say throughout life. Which brings us to our next question from The Rage of Angels.
Hi, Sam. I'm a huge fan. You worked with Rachel McAdams on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What was it about her performance there that made you want to cast her as the lead in a survivalist setting? Send help.
To which Sam Raimi replied, working with Rachel McAdams on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was a really eye-opening experience for me. I saw how talented she was as a performer. And because there was an alternate multiversal version of her character, I had the opportunity to watch her create a mirrored version of the same person. It was so close to the original, but absolutely unique. By the time reshoots came along, there was a third version of her character. Yet another version of the same, but with a slightly different story. She played this one perfectly also. Then, when it came to her action sequences, she was so willing to commit and put everything into it. I told myself, this is the actress I should be working with next. It just, again, it goes to show you, and I've been preaching this is the theme of the year. Doing things that you love, and it puts the passion into it, that it just gives off an energy and a vibe that people like being around people that are happy to be doing what they're doing. And clearly, Rachel McAdams, she's out there playing the same character, 3 different versions, and she's still able to make them each individual in her own ways. And that's going to bring us to our next question from Keanu990321.
Hey, Big Sam. Before I ask you my 2 questions, I would like to thank you for your tremendous contribution to cinema throughout the decades. You have been a pioneer and a true artist. My questions are, how did you get to acquire that, now trademark of your films, yellow Oldsmobile Delta 88? How important is that car to you? And then the second question, being a massive Keanu Reeves fan, how was the experience working with him on The Gift like? Is there any story of you with him that you'd like to share with us? Would you consider casting him in one of your future projects? I wish you the best of luck to your new film, Send Help! And I would like to prematurely thank the entire crew of this film for their work. Sam Raimi's work tells us that this one will be magnificent.
And Sam replied, hi, I'm going to answer the second part of your question. My experience working with Keanu Reeves on The Gift was absolutely fantastic. He really researched the role thoroughly and brought to set a performance that was so unlike anything I've seen him do up to that point in his career. He was a gentleman and carried himself with great respect and dignity. He's a true professional. I would love to work with him again. That is a great response, but I'm curious why he didn't answer the Delta 88 question.
Maybe it's meant to be a secret.
Yeah, maybe that's his little
hidden mystery.
Yep. Again, we've heard these kind of things about Keanu Reeves throughout media and stuff, that he's a very gentleman person, he's very kind. And even remembering that photo where he was taking with women and he didn't want to put his arm around them.
Yes.
I know some people think oh, that's being too cautious. When you're a celebrity, I don't think you can be too cautious.
I agree.
one random arm situation, now you got controversy up the yin-yang, creating drama that doesn't need to be. It's just a whole thing.
Yeah, you can't make everybody happy. I think erring on the side of caution is better.
Right. So, again, we just get more validation that Keanu Reeves is a pretty cool person. And then we got two more for you. This one by Rubik's Cube Lube.
Drag Me to Hell is amazing, dude. Wait, this one doesn't have a question. I have no questions except to say that the fight scene in the car, now we're talking about a car again, is one of the greatest sequences ever shot and my all-time favorite old lady fight on film. You rock.
To which Sam replied, "Thanks for the kind words on Drag Me to Hell. My brother Ivan and I really enjoyed writing it, and it was a blast to shoot. Regarding the fight scene in the car, it was really all made possible by the great teamwork of Allison Lohman and Lorna Raver. I will always admire how much those two great actresses committed to the scene, never slowing down to take after take after take. Editor Bob Murwowski, Ivan, and myself all tried to jam as much mayhem and laughs as we could into the small space." Imagine that. Imagine, like, fighting in a car. All right, cut. Do it again.
Right.
Cut.
I'm noticing a trend here. And it ties back to your scripture. Have you noticed that nearly all of Sam Raimi's responses are very servant-like?
Lifting others up.
All lifting others up. They're all talking about how great, the people that he worked with were. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And speaking of, that's actually amazing. I didn't even realize that. I was thinking like, oh yeah, it's because people are asking about these actors. But this is a question that has nobody involved in it. And I'm just going to let you take this one by Animal Boy _.
What drew you into the genre of horror from a filmmaking standpoint?
Back to what you were saying and Sam Raimi's response. In junior high, high school, and college, I had only made comedies. When Robert Tappert, Bruce Campbell, and I teamed up to make a feature film, Rob said the only theaters showing homemade films are drive-ins, and they only show horror movies. So you've got to learn to make a horror film. I told him I didn't like horror films. They scared me, and he told me to try. That's really what started me out in horror. So again, someone asked him a question on how he started, like what inspired him, what got him into this, and he still finds a way to lift other people up in the conversation. It is funny to know that Sam Raimi did not like horror, and that's what he's most known for. And do you think him not liking horror makes him a better horror director?
I do, actually. I mean, the first thing he says is, they scared me. If you know how to have fear, right, then you know what generates it. Mm-hmm. And that's going to make a good horror director.
Yep. And even with his horror, it's not universal, like classic retelling of horror stories in certain ways. His horror is more, like I mentioned earlier, like that slapstick comedy in your face. There are some brutal, very, very gory, bloody moments, and then it's tied up by this random thing where like a demon's turning his head around and like his head falls off and it's like running around crazily without his head. Just these random things that you're like, well, that's hilarious, but also it's terrifying at the same time. So I agree that it kind of offers that other perspective that you wouldn't get from someone who is like diehard horror, because then I think they would be focused on treating this solely as a horror movie. And yeah, maybe comedy here and there, but Sam Raimi does a great job of incorporating comedy into his horror movies. So that was just some great questions and some great answers that were directed to Sam Raimi. If you want to read more of those, you can check them out on Reddit, and you just search up Sam Raimi. He did a couple Ask Me Anythings in a couple different places. So pretty cool to see the director's perspective, and even cooler to your atonement to him picking up the people around him. That's what you like to see in a leader. You don't want someone to be like, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. He's like, we did this, this person, this person, this person. It's really cool to see.
Exactly.
And is it going to make us biased for this next segment, which is
Over Under?
All right, over under. So this is the second one of the year. The first one was Moses the Black, and I had the over 7.2 on that one, but the movie doesn't come out till this upcoming Friday, so I will be able to tally that one as a win or loss. The Monday after the 30th is when that one will be tallied as a win or loss. I don't know. That one's tough, 7.2, because looking at this one, and again, I tie in previous movies from the director, but because this is more of a suspense thriller horror movie, I'm going to keep it in that theme of the horror thriller suspense, and we're going to be using Drag Me to Hell, which is currently at a 6.6 on IMDb. The Gift, which is a 6.7 on IMDb, Evil Dead, 7.3 on IMDb, and Evil Dead 2, which is a 7.7. So the total and average of those comes out to a 7.1 over under. Amber, do you think this movie's going to go over or under 7.1?
So that's a tight one. I'm going to say it's going to go under.
Under? Okay.
Yes. I think it's going to be very entertaining, but I do not think that it will max out as one of Sam Raimi's greatest of all times, like Evil Dead.
Okay. And if you had to predict a score?
I'm going to go with 6.8.
6.8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it would be rated better than Drag Me to Hell, which was a great movie. The ending just completely unraveled it for me. And The Gift, which was a 6.7, but less than Evil Dead, which is what Sam Raimi, and the Spider-Man franchise, but we're not going to compare those, is what Sam Raimi is most known for. I think I'm going to be a little bit more generous with this one. I think this is a fantastic concept. It is given to us where we are full of just negative emotions and just anger and resentment and pain for our superiors. And the world right now is a little complainy. It's a little complainy. It's hard to tell. And it's hard to tell what's...
It's very relevant.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what's legitimate and what's just us being too sensitive. So I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people, and unfortunately that means it's going to resonate a lot in probably the not so good way, where people are like, oh, I wish I had my boss on an island like that. Oof. Yeah, that's what my concern is. But other than that, for theatrical value and entertainment value, I think this is going to be over 7.2. And this is going to be the Monday after, so it can totally be a 7.5, and then a year from now drop to 5.2 because something happened, and now it changed the opinions of people on this. But just talking about that Monday after the film is released, I'm going to say it's going to go over 7.1, and I'm predicting it to be a 7.4.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Raimi, after Multiverse of Madness, people were kind of disappointed with that one. I thought it was pretty good. I thought there was some scenes in that movie that we hadn't seen in a Marvel movie before that were beautifully shot, but it was overlooked by people not liking the story of Multiverse of Madness, which is okay. I mean, Marvel is up and down lately, so I can understand it, but it was more of a horror movie than I expected Marvel for putting out, and I kind of applauded them for taking that risk with it, and unfortunately to them, I don't think it really worked out, but I thought it was pretty cool. But if we're talking about over, then we should mention the top 3 reasons you should go over to watch this in theaters.
Top 3 reasons.
With number 1, we get Sam Raimi back in horror. As I mentioned before, yes, Multiverse of Madness did have horror elements, but at the end of the day, it was a Marvel superhero movie. Now we get him back. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any supernatural elements, which is fine. This is going to be more so of the suspense, thriller, drama, what would you do in this situation, that really gets you questioning what would you do in this situation. And I think that is a fantastic premise for this movie. I think it's going to be set up well with the fantastic acting of Rachel McAdams, the underrated acting of Dylan O'Brien, trapped on this island. I'm so excited to see what will turn out. So that's going to be my number 1 reason you should go watch this one in theaters. You want to take number 2?
Well, I recently found out, right before we were recording this, that Danny Elfman will be doing the score of this film. And I have always been a big fan of Danny Elfman. I feel like his music really sets a certain mood for his films, or attraction areas. Usually we see him working with Tim Burton, but it's cool to see that he'll be part of this film.
What would you say his style is?
So his style is very gothic and whimsical. It has a lot of dark melodic tones, so it's really cool to listen to.
And fun fact for those of you who don't know, he actually did the music as well in the Epic theme park at the Monsters area in Dartmoor. So that was pretty cool because Danny Elfman is really good at what he does, and he's really good at evoking emotion from his specific style.
Yeah, you can feel the immersive energy when you're in that area, and I do think it has a lot to do with the music.
Yeah, it really ties it all together. And even before we started this, I was like, oh, hey, did you know Danny Elfman was the composer of this movie? And you were shocked.
I was, and excited.
Okay, so that's a good number 2 reason. And last but not least, the 3rd reason you should go watch this movie in theaters is because let's be honest, January is kind of slow for movies. Going through what's coming out, what's coming soon, there are a lot of great movies coming out this year. But every year we have this situation where January is a little slower for movies, or we might get one or two throughout the years that might be bangers. But January is also, in my opinion, one of the most slept on months of the year for cinema. Because, again, we're not expecting these blockbusters till mid-year or even towards the end of the year. And we are getting some good ones this year. I'm looking at you, Odyssey. But this is one of those movies that I think is going to go overlooked because you see Send Help and you're like, oh, that might be cool. But horror movies in January, that's a whole like other genre of trash because those are usually just the, oh, let's just put it out. It's January. No one's going to go watch anyways. We're coming back from holidays. You're going back to work. You're going back to school. You're getting a lot more busy. You just spent so much money Christmas and Thanksgiving. You're trying to work that money back up. So this is going to be one of those movies that I think is going to be flying under the radar, make us appreciate it that much more, and I think that's a great reason for number 3 why you should go watch this movie in theaters. But as I mentioned in the start of this episode, now we're going to actually answer this question. If things changed and you now held the role of God, would everyone's life get better or only your own? Amber.
That's hard to say because we are only human. I would like to think that it would be everyone. I try to live my life in a way already where I'm serving others. So I do believe that if I had that kind of power that I would serve others before myself. But again, I am not God, I am human. So that's the best I can answer that question.
Yeah, and that's essentially where I would be coming from too. Like in my heart, I'm like, oh yeah, I would easily want to serve others, but if you turn the tables and then put someone in my past that has like caused me pain or someone that I am separated from and the roles are reversed, again, it's easy for me to say like, oh yeah, I can do that. But it reminds me again of Peter saying like, oh yeah, I will never deny you 3 times. Like it's easy to say in theory, but then when put in practicality, then it becomes this whole other thing. So I would also like to say that I would be there, like I would be helping everyone. And I think I genuinely would be helping everyone. But I also think there's situations that I would be, unfortunately, selfish in things I've done that would not benefit anyone else except for myself, even though I'm like, oh, this would benefit them. But it would be like a shallow thought and not something that would benefit others. So that's just tying around full circle. And that is going to be the end of the podcast. But before we go, I'm doing this at the end of every episode now. I'm going to be doing a prayer. And if you would like to join, we'd love to have you. If you don't want to join, that's okay. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And for those of you who would like to pray, please bow your head. Lord, thank you so much for this amazing day. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to turn a microphone on and talk about the things we love. And not only just talk about the things we love, but dive deeper into the things we love and see how it ties it all back to you. That a lot of these things that we just glaze over in this world are connected to you and to your word and to thematics of your book and your truth. And it's so crazy to see because these are things that we just glaze over and we just think of entertainment. But it's awesome to be able to flip this on a different perspective and try and see a different light of it and try and understand things from a different viewpoint that we wouldn't normally see. So thank you for that opportunity, and thank you for Amber to be able to be here to help me out on this. And Lord, I ask that you please shine your light and pick up those that are feeling down in this world. As I mentioned, it is January, and January can be a tough month for people recovering from the holidays or people starting the new year or even trying to start something new for the new year, and they're maybe not reaching the standards that they wanted to be at. Just remind them to be okay with that, and that things take time, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and that it's okay to fail as long as you're remembering to pick yourself up afterwards and just guide them, Lord. And to anyone that's struggling out there, just guide them and help shine your light on them, and to help them remember that you're there for them and you love them just as much as anyone else, and that you sent your son for us, and so that even though we weren't perfect and we weren't worthy, that he died so that we can live and be where we're at today. And Lord, I thank you so much for that, and I thank you for everything you have given us in this world, and I thank you for showing us the things you want us to see and spreading the things you want us to spread, and just the amazing opportunity to just be able to sit here and connect with people, or just connect with each other and just talk about the things we love, and even bringing it all back to your word and building that relationship with you. Lord, I thank you again for everything and for everyone listening in. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so that is going to be the end of the podcast. Thank you again for stopping by. Love you. God bless. And don't forget, oh, the movie is starting.